I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and I'm here with two friends of mine, two people I admire and respect in the gun industry. My friend Jon Dufresne, also known as the Mocha Bear Actual, and Manuel Gomez from Palm Beach Tactical. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about all kinds of different things in the gun industry, from guns, we're going to talk about laws, we're going to talk about things about like suppressors, machine guns, and we're just going to go through a whole list of questions that, because obviously this is a topic that is constantly in the news and people are always talking about it. So with that said, if maybe we start with Jon, just give everybody a little background on who you are, where you come from, your expertise.
Cool. Well, glad to be here. First off, my name is Jon Dufresne. I'm a former Army Ranger. I also work in the security industry and have been for about 7 years. I am the owner of Kinetic Consulting, which is a training and consulting company. I go around the country teaching civilian, law enforcement, federal and local, and then some military units as well. And really just I fell into it and love it, so continue to do it. And Corey's been a student for about almost a year now, I think. So it's been a lot of fun, and I actually enjoy what I do.
Yeah, he's like a kid in the gun range. It's, every time I get a new gun, I bring it to him. It's like his eyes light up as if Christmas Eve just happened all over again. So how about you, Manny? What's your background? Who you are? What are you all about?
Hey guys, my name is Manuel Gomez. I'm the owner of Palm Beach Tactical. We are a concierge gun shop in Boca Raton, Florida, specializing in unique high-end firearms and accessories. This shop has been a dream of mine since I was a boy. When other kids were out playing ball, I was out shooting. It is truly my passion. And we are South Florida's premier purveyor of night vision and thermal equipment. Thank you.
And you're also the MPX King of South Florida, right?
Undisputed.
Undisputed.
MPX King of South Florida, formerly the self-proclaimed.
For people who don't know, what's an MPX?
MPX is 6 hours, 9mm pistol caliber carbine, or PCC. So it kind of looks like an AR-15. It operates like an AR-15. It shoots 9mm, and they're small and portable. They are considered handguns, so a lot of fun.
Yes, and I have one with a suppressor, which is really cool.
And it's the Coach Corey Wayne Special. It's a very special model that we did for Coach Corey.
Yeah, on my Instagram account, we actually did a couple of videos where we went through it. Actually went to the gun range because he's got one. Obviously, he's a Class III manufacturer, so he manufactures machine guns, and I got to shoot his MPX machine gun on the gun range, which was a lot of fun.
It's super fun to shoot.
So with that said, let's go through. I got a list of questions here. We're just going to kind of go through and to facilitate discussion. So first one is, what pop culture movies, video games in your childhood inspired your love of guns?
I guess pulp culture is a weird word to say, or weird phrase. For me, it started out as I was raised by Army soldiers and I was raised by Marines, so it was easy to get to know and love those things. As a kid, I always had the fascination of it, so it wasn't something that happened at like 10 years old. It was I shot my first gun at 4 or 5. It was a little .22 little rifle. My grandpa let me shoot at like little cans, it was a fascination from there. Like I was hooked. But something movie wise that I really enjoyed was like the movie Navy SEALs. Rambo was always a thing. I used to run around with a little bandana, like crazy man running around, and it was just it was entertainment. But I think most of all, it kind of drew me to the military. So both those types of movies and a few others I'm sure that I'm missing definitely drew me that way. And then yeah, it's pretty much what drove me that way.
Cool.
For my fascination.
How about you, Manuel?
I have to say Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone movies. Classic action heroes. Real men, real tough guys, real badasses. That's it. I mean, it doesn't get any better than them.
Yeah, I watched a lot of those movies in the 80s as well growing up. So, John, what made you decide to become a soldier?
Well, like I said, I was raised by a bunch of them in different forms and fashions. But mainly it was kind of like the want to serve my country. So I've always been one to be helpful. Like I have 6 younger siblings, so try to be helpful to my parents or my mom specifically. So always wanted to be helpful, and I thought, and I still think that it's kind of something most people should do, or at least try. And then also I wanted to pay for college, so that was like a secondary thing other than my service. I definitely wanted to experience the things that many don't get to experience. I think they say like 1% of the population joins the military in the United States, and then 1% of the 1% end up in a special operations community. So not only was it like something I can be proud of and feel honored to be able to do, but it was it's definitely something that was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Do you feel like it was your calling?
To an
Did
extent,
you, like
yeah.
you felt inside like this is what I got to do. This is who I am.
Ever since I was a kid, I had little camouflage outfits, dressed up as it for Halloween. Like, it was always it was definitely where I was going. And then I went to EMT school right before the military, and it was one of those things where I was like, I'm in the wrong place. Like, I feel like I'm in the wrong place. And it's not because it was EMT school, because it was great learning, a lot of good knowledge, a lot of stuff I still use to today. But it was not where I needed to be, and I felt that. And joined the military, and I knew immediately when I got there that 1, the recruiter lied to me, and then 2, that it was the right place. Like I was on the right path. So it was really cool.
What was the lie that what he lied to you about?
Oh, all the recruiter lies, like, oh, you're going to be a man amongst men. Oh, it's going to be awesome. You're going to be a badass. Like, all the things that they want you to know. And then you get there, and then the drill sergeants are just on you immediately and tear you down and treat you like crap. And all the general things you would expect. The good old gunny style of stuff. And not that it was bad or unexpected, because I kind of expected it, knowing from either movies or what I've heard from friends or the relatives I had growing up. But it was definitely like, this guy's totally lied to everybody. and there's plenty of guys that are out there probably watching this that'll
Shaking
definitely
their head, had the
be
same
like,
experience.
Yep, my recruiter lied. It's normal.
So, what insight does being an experienced warfighter give you now that you're a civilian that everybody needs to know or understand about guns and self-defense?
So experienced warfighter is probably the wrong term for it. Like, I have some experience, right? There are guys that have way more than me, guys that have way less than me. I'm in there as experienced to an extent, but I think people don't understand that we went over there, right, or we still are over there using firearms to protect ourselves, right? Protect ourselves and our buddies, because those are the most important things, obviously, for country. Over here, we still use the same firearms, same things, guns, right, to protect ourselves from evil humans, right? There's always going to be evil. Right, there's always going to be bad people. Most may want not to think that way or to believe that way, but there's evil everywhere. And one of the things that I think people misinterpret is the use of the firearm. It's not that the firearm is what gives you the self-defense ability. It's you that gives you the self-defense ability, your mind, your way that you deal with things. But it's just a tool. It's an added value to that situation. It could also be the downside to you if you don't use it correctly, kind of thing. But one of the things that also gets involved in there is, as a person that carries a firearm, you need to know how to use it. You need to know how to take care of it. You need to know how to store it properly and not let it get into hands that aren't supposed to be on it, stuff like that. So same thing that we dealt with overseas, right? pretty much slept with your firearm. You made sure it didn't get into the wrong hands, and you took care of it, and you know how to use it. So same things, just translated to a civilian population, different gun, and different way of carrying it, because now it's not just slung around my shoulder, it's more in a holster, concealed by clothing. So it's different but the same.
You can learn more by reading Corey Wayne's book, Mastering Yourself, for free on his website, understandingrelationships.com, by subscribing to the newsletter.
So as a professional firearms trainer, what level of gun regulations, in your humble opinion, do you think is appropriate? And to add to that, what about mental illness, and how do you think this should be handled, or red flag laws?
So personally, the gun laws that are out there, we have to think of them as the only people that are going to follow laws are law-abiding citizens, and law-abiding citizens are usually not criminals, because those are kind of the opposite. So being that most law-abiding citizens follow the laws work. When people that are not law-abiding citizens or criminals, they don't care. So really, laws are just there for the people that follow them. It's like a lock. Like a lock on your door is easily defeated, right? Like anybody can get in your house. All they need is a couple little tools or a really good, kick, right? Most of the time. And the only thing that lock does is keep honest people out. It doesn't keep dishonest people out. So it's the same concept. So whatever laws go into place, they have to be followed to actually work. So if they're not followed by the people that don't follow laws that they were made for, what's the point? So personally, I don't think there should be any. Like, it's not helping. It's not doing anything for anybody. The minimal amount of statistics where those laws actually catch people is so minuscule. I don't remember the statistics because I just don't follow that stuff enough. But I remember reading about it where you have this very small statistic of people that actually go into a gun shop, have a felony, and then get caught by the system, and then they're like, oh no, I can't get a gun, cool. Well, then that same person just goes and steals one, mm-hmm. right? It's same concept. So for me, it's one of those things that laws they're there for the law-abiding citizens. So if you're going to follow them, great. If you're not, well, they don't matter then, right?
Yeah, a lot of politicians have the idea that you can legislate a perfect society if you just write the right number of laws, but the thing that they always ignore or look past is that criminals just have zero intent on following them.
Yeah.
What do you think about red flag laws? I know we've chatted briefly about it in the past. What's your opinion on it?
It's a very touchy subject, but I feel that a lot of these laws, that are in place, obviously they, anyone that has an established history of some type of mental disorder or tendencies like that, well, obviously they can't get guns. But what about, for example, if I gave this example earlier. What happens if I'm on my way home and I get a phone call that, say, my daughter has been killed in a car accident? I may become temporarily insane. I may not be the person that I was before. Could cause me to do something that I normally wouldn't do. But 10 minutes before that call, I was normal. I was not a threat to anyone or anything.
So you're a fan of the red flag laws, or do you think?
Well,
because obviously the argument is they get abused. You get spouses that are pissed off at their exes and are trying to use the legal system to tweak them.
Yeah, no, I'm certainly not a fan of the red flag laws. And as you said, yes, they can be misused and abused. And guns could be taken away from the wrong person who was doing everything right and who did not have any mental illness or issues.
So let's talk about at-risk individuals and having their guns taken away. Somebody that's mentally ill or somebody that's threatening to shoot somebody or shoot something up. What's your opinion on that? for having law enforcement go and forcibly remove the guns from that person?
Well, it depends, right? It's a slippery slope. Because if the person's at risk, they've threatened people. That's already breaking laws, by the way, when you start threatening humans. So technically,
That's technically assault, right?
I don't know what it's considered, but so it's definitely already a crime of some sort. So yeah, like maybe an instance where it would be taken away or at least investigated, right? That person needs to, at least in our litigious society, needs to be kind of confronted about it. Now, the problem is, how do we know they made that threat, right? Is there proof of the threat, like on social media where they typed it in, but was it them typing it in, or was it somebody that was angry about them with their account information typing it in? Right? There's so many,
Like a disgruntled spouse or ex-spouse to be.
just like with the red flag laws. So there's so many what ifs that can go into it. It's hard to make a law that's going to cover every what if. And then if they make a blanket statement law, excuse me, it may put people that aren't supposed to be getting their guns taken away for nothing. So it's I don't know how to put it any better, but it's a slippery slope.
What do you think about the calls for the AR-50 to be banned? Because that's obviously pretty universally demonized in the media. It's like every time you turn it on, somebody's bitching about the AR-15.
I think they're ridiculous. I think there's no logic behind that argument. That's like saying, well, there are more deaths from drunk drivers and drug overdoses in the U.S. than there are gun-related deaths. So if that was the logic, why don't they ban cars? Or for that matter, why don't they ban alcohol? Or why don't they ban prescription drugs? No, it's a ridiculous thing.
They did ban alcohol at one point.
Well, but the
didn't work out
And
too
look
well.
what happened, right?
Yeah.
the AR-15 is just a tool, and it all depends on how it's used.
So, I mean, you look at Mexico, because Mexico's in the headlines all the time now, and I think there's, 2 gun shops in all of Mexico, and so only the government and the criminals are armed, and the people are, they have no way to defend themselves. And, they're right on our border, and you got those same people coming across the border with impunity, and you get these calls, we can just disarm everybody, and that'll solve all the problems. It's like, it hasn't worked. Especially there. So what do you guys think about the calls for the assault weapons ban? What is an assault weapon, and kind of the silliness around the whole discussion? Because most of the people discussing it are completely ignorant of the weapons they're talking about.
Well, it's a buzzword, of course. Because a weapon is a weapon, but anything can be a weapon, right? So, right, bottle. I assaulted him. Assault weapon, right? So it doesn't matter, right? They can buzzword all they want. It's just like marketing. They'll use whiz bang words to make you buy things, like the Dyson Shark 2000 best vacuum ever, right? Like they're gonna use it for marketing, right? 2000 what? Why is it called a shark? Because sharks are cool, right? They eat things, so whatever. But yeah, it's a buzzword. There's no real assault weapon.
I think the media also uses the term assault weapon to instill fear in people who don't know enough about the subject or who have a misconception of it. So they're using it incorrectly.
So what do both you guys recommend that people do to become safe and competent firearm users and owners?
Well, that's a simple one. Go learn, right? Go take professional courses from somebody you have vetted. There's a lot of instructors out there that are self-taught or have no experience or sit on the, just have an NRA certification, and it doesn't mean crap. It means absolutely nothing. If they're sitting there just giving you theoretical based knowledge that they learned from a book or from Rambo, then there may be some issues there. You need to also learn the laws, right? Learn what you can, what you can't do, and learn when when you are allowed to, and understand that, but also protect yourself in that sense. Legally, you need to understand legally what you'll have to do if after you end up having to use your firearm in self-defense or something like that. So if you don't understand those things, whether how to use the firearm, when to use the firearm, and legally what's going to happen afterwards, you're going to end up somewhere getting hung up in some kind of issue. We're a very litigious society that likes their laws. So although you may have been very rightfully using your firearm to protect yourself or somebody else,
you're going to get sued, basically.
That person's going to sue you somehow. In death, that person's family will sue you. That person, when they get out of the hospital, if they lived, are going to sue you. Like, just bet on it. So if you're one of those people that's like, well, I rather get judged by 12 than buried by 6, shut up. Like, your bravado doesn't matter, right? Your bravado is not going to help you. And I promise you, being judged by 12 is going to suck. It's going to definitely suck. And being buried would have been way easier. But not to say don't go dying. But one of the things that people don't understand is the people they put on those juries, right? They don't know about guns. They don't know about the gun laws. They probably, if we look at it with the way our country is, they probably are against guns, right? And the other thing is, that family that's going to sue you, or that person that's going to sue you, is going to make the most dramatic case out of it. Look at tons of shootings that are out there that people have dealt with and have had to mortgage or refinance their house or give up their house or any of the other things just because they protect themselves in their own home. It's ridiculous and unnecessary, but it happens. And if you don't understand when you can, how to do it, and also the laws behind it, you may stick yourself into a really bad corner. Training.
So what do people look for in a trainer? Obviously, people all over the country and the world so not everybody has a retired Army Ranger like you near me. It's like what's the vetting process? What criteria do you look for somebody to train with?
So one of the things I look for personally, because I'm still a student all the time, is that person's reputation, right? If they're some guy that just says he's something from some special place, how, right? Go back, look them up, look up stories about them, articles about them. There's a lot of after action reports online about instructors. All you have to do is look up their name usually, and you can find something about them. The other thing is ask, right? Ask other people. Ask people that you know that are avid trainers, or you could easily email me, and I'll tell you, I know that guy, I don't know that guy. The other thing is too, most shops will have a reputable trainer that they use or know. But understand that they may be biased. That trainer may not be the best or a great trainer, and that shop just uses them because they're convenient, right? So just be aware of those kind of things. Also, just do your research on them, right? Go to their website, read their bio, look up different videos. Nowadays, every instructor has videos online. Look up their videos, see how they're shooting, see what they're doing. If it looks unsafe and really wonky, right, probably not good. And here in South Florida, not to name any names, but there are plenty of instructors down here that are way out of their realm, and it is what it is. There's no regulation or way of regulating that. Anybody can teach anything. You just have to have the students that come. So it's one of those scary things that I tend to have a lot of students that come to me from other instructors, and then, whoa, that's a thing, like, and not know how to shoot, and all they're doing is now relearning or taking bad habits and having to remake them into better habits. So it's sad, but it's what we live in now with so many people out there with fake resumes and just bad training.
Anything you want to add to that?
Oh, he pretty much said it all.
So what do you guys think about our society that leads to alienated people who commit mass shootings? In other words, what's changed in our society that has caused this relatively new phenomenon of mass shootings, in your opinion?
It's a difficult question to answer.
Because, I mean, when my parents were growing up, I listened to my dad tell stories all the time. He's like, yeah, you just go down to the local hardware shop and buy a revolver or a rifle. It was like buying a hammer or a chisel or a screwdriver. It really wasn't a big deal, and you didn't have people committing mass shootings and stuff back then.
I think it's partly the way we go about like how we treat our kids nowadays. It has to stem from when we were kids, in my opinion at least. When I was a child, I was taught discipline, right? And this is good, this is bad, don't do this, do this. And nowadays we have families that have two working parents. The kids are kind of on their own for the most part, or they're just being taught by other kids, right, in school. They'll take certain things very, very hard at hand. So a lot of kids don't talk to their parents nowadays, right? They don't have conversations with them. They're not like, oh, how was your day? Oh, good. That's it. There's no like, oh, well, Mom, there's this kid at school, he did this, and I didn't feel good. Well, and then the parent needs to teach them how to deal with those situations. Instead, the kid sits there, bottles it up, says good every single time it's asked, and then eventually loses his shit. I think the other problem is how the media makes it a spectacle, right? The kids that are usually being bullied into this, and I say bullied because most of them are either bullied in one way or another.
Yeah, they're kind of like the outcasts. Like if you go back to the Columbine ones, it was pretty obvious they were bullied and ostracized.
Even the most recent ones, they're usually bullied in some way, whether it's because girls don't like them or because other people just don't like them in general. Like they're set aside and they feel a certain way, and they don't feel safe about talking to anybody about it. And that's where the parents are supposed to come in, by the way, not some school system or whatever. Like those are random people. Like the person that cares about the child the most should be the one that's on top of the kid the most. And then right there, you kind of grow this whole thing of the kid losing his shit because he doesn't have an outlet, and he knows the only way to get attention is to do something outrageous, whether it is blow up a damn car, or go to a school with a gun and shoot some kids, or whatever. He's at his boiling point at that point, and there's plenty of signs of it, not that we can see them all. And teachers, it's hard because they have 200 plus students a day that they see coming through their classrooms. They can't be expected to understand each one, and not only that, but like talk to each one. It's almost impossible. You get counselors and psychiatrists that don't even see that many people a day. So it's definitely a whole thing where we have the parents are slightly at fault for not doing their parental duty or not having the time, and then the media for forcing that whole problem to just be like just put out there so openly. Not to say that we need to censor them in some way, but if we look at Canada, they don't show the face, they don't say the name of any person that's ever done any massive act of violence. And it's I believe it's against the law there, but you have to check that. I don't know for sure. But you don't see a lot of mass shootings, you don't see a lot of mass killings there for that reason. And because those kids aren't getting that kind of attention that they're expecting like they do here in the United States. So things like that we don't see as much. And I think that's two parts of the problem. There's probably plenty more.
You can learn more by reading Corey Wayne's book, Mastering Yourself for free on his website, understandingrelationships.com, by subscribing to the newsletter.
So what do you think? Because obviously, we're in an election cycle, and several of the people running for Democratic president have come out and said basically that they're going to actually use the government to, if they get elected, to confiscate certain types of weapons. So what do you guys think would happen if they try to take guns from the people, whether it's pistols, rifles, or just outright ban everything? And then what do you think would happen if they succeeded?
Well,
because we got, what is it, the numbers are over 300 million guns in the United States there. And the other thing to keep in mind is, guns have been part of our history for so long. I know, like, my own family is like, the guns just kind of, they got passed down from generation to generation. When, my grandfather died, he had, I think it was 32 different pistols that he collected, because he used to shoot back when he was in World War II. He had a .45 as standard issue, and he liked to shoot. That was one of his things. And obviously when he passed away, the family got all of his guns. So you got guns going back over 100 years that were no serial number. Nobody even knew they were out there. And so, that 300 something million, that number might be off significantly. There might be a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But it's, what do you guys think would happen if they passed a law and said you got to turn in your AR, or you got to turn in your pistol with your 10-round magazine?
A lot of people are going to lose guns by accident, right? They're going to, fell off a boat. But
Boating accident.
Boating accidents. There's going to be plenty of those reports. But mainly, I think it's going to spark different things, or it may spark different things. It may spark the people that are going to outright refuse and rebel. It may spark the ones that are like law-abiding citizens, so they follow the laws. They're like, okay, well, I can't have these anymore. I have to give them in. And then it may spark, other countries to be like, ooh la la. Now they're an easy target, right? It's always been the United States for at least the couple hundred years that we've been alive now or running. People have hated us, right? There's been a lot of countries on our soil in different forms and manners, and now we have definitely a radical side of the world that hates us. And if you think the war is just going to stay on one end, you're sadly mistaken. It's going to constantly come further and further our way, and that, like we were talking about with Mexico, they're right there. They are right there, and there's a bunch of people there that want their way or the highway kind of stuff. It would be bad. It would definitely be bad on the aftermath side of things, and what people won't understand is that everybody's going to be affected in some form or way, whether you like guns or you don't. Like, it's going to affect you, because now you're hoping that I think I was talking to Fort Lauderdale PD, right? They only have 550 officers for a couple million people. Like, they can't help you, bro. They're not going to get there in time. They'll be there to clean up.
15 minutes away on a good day.
They'll clean it up, right? They'll let your family know what happened, right? But they're not going to be able to help you. It just won't. So this whole confiscation stuff is going to cause a lot of issues in so many different ways.
And some of the politicians are also saying that the police are basically going to come kick your door in and take your guns forcefully. It's realistically, you got, what was it, 550 officers over how many million? How many are in this area?
Oh, down in the South Florida area, millions of people.
Let's hope that day never comes.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, those officers may not do it.
Well, we're seeing a lot in the news is these sanctuary gun cities now. Several of them, obviously, in Florida, where city councils are passing laws saying that we're not. You can go ban all the guns you want. We're not enforcing them. This is a Second Amendment sanctuary.
Yeah, it's
and
our
you can keep
constitutional right. Absolutely.
So people are in smaller communities fighting back. It's like all over the country, which I think is pretty cool.
Mhm.
They're just saying, nah, we're not enforcing these laws. Everybody should have a gun.
Yep.
I don't know how you guys closely follow what's been going on with 3D printing. You maybe saw a couple of years ago the guy that I think he printed a one-shot pistol using I think it was plastic. But if you've ever watched the laser printers that they use lasers to heat up some kind of substrate, and what it does is it melts it together, like the Super Draco thrusters on the SpaceX capsule that take off. Those things are actually made with 3D printing. And so if you can build a rocket engine with 3D printing using lasers to melt the material, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road, I mean, everybody could be able to buy for $300, go to your local Office Depot or Home Depot and buy a 3D laser printer, and you can print metallic parts. And so you literally, there's a timeline and it's shrinking, and we're getting closer and closer today where the average person is going to be able to go to Office Depot or Home Depot or any Walmart and pick up a nice high quality laser printer and print out metal parts at home. And you can have all the gun laws you want, and when you have that kind of technology out there that anybody can pretty much print anything they want, that's going to kind of render all gun laws pretty much useless, other than the people who will actually follow them.
What's funny is that even with that, people are still going to use other things. Like, anything's a weapon, right? Like, Manny's bottle here is really hard. I can beat on somebody pretty good with that. A pencil, right? John Wick, 3 people, 1 pencil, right? No, but in all seriousness, it is like anything can be used. So you're taking away a tool. They're just going to replace it with another tool. Look at China, right? No gun law, no guns, right, allowed. There's still gun violence, by the way, right? Because they have criminals that don't follow laws. But they also have where people go on knife rampages. And
that's one thing that's weird over there. You hear, every couple of months you hear about some guy going and attacking an elementary school and stabbing like 30 kids. That's kind of bizarre, how common that is. And it's like, is that a disgruntled parent, or is that just some mentally ill dude? That's just a bizarre.
Who knows?
A bizarre thing.
That guy knows. That's it. If he knows. So, but yeah, people are going to use whatever they can get their hands on either way. I mean, guns aren't the only thing that kill people. If you look it up, FBI statistics are out there where people get bludgeoned, hammered, hit with bats, stabbed. There's people that kill people with forks. It doesn't matter.
More people are killed because there's only between 300 and 400 people that are killed each year through rifles, which obviously the AR-15 is a rifle. And when you look at people that are killed with hands and feet or knives, the numbers are 3-4 times knives and hands and feet versus rifles. So it's really, you figure a few hundred people, it's all about saving lives is what they like to say. But you got 11 teenagers dying every day from texting and driving.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Why does nobody care?
But they made a law about that, right? You're not allowed to. So people aren't allowed to die anymore from texting and driving. Sorry.
And it keeps happening.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Just like drugs. Drugs have been illegal for how long? How many people overdose on drugs? Because they don't follow the law. They don't care about it. Right? Law only keeps honest people honest. Other than that, it's a Wild West.
So, and I want to hear from both of you individually. It's like, what is your view on the Second Amendment, its purpose, who should and shouldn't have guns, and just the current overall gun debate? In other words, if you can encapsulate your view of the Second Amendment and its purpose and the history behind it all,
our country was founded on basically on the Second Amendment, on the right to bear arms, to be able to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government, to be able to protect ourselves from those trying to hurt us. And it is our right to keep and bear those arms. Simple as that.
It really has nothing to do with duck hunting and self-defense. It's really as a last resort to resist a government that's become tyrannical.
Yeah.
And when you read the words of the Founding Fathers, they were very explicit and very clear in their writings that that was the intent. It was such an obvious thing at the time that they really didn't even see the need to even put it into law. And obviously some of the other states were adamant that it be put in there. And one of the things that were discussed in the documentary is some of the, I think there was two of the states wanted to protect their militias to go after the escaped slaves, but the majority of them, they wanted it memorialized in the Constitution because, Founding Fathers were very familiar with all the other governments and democracies that had failed, and they wanted the people to be able to, they wanted everybody to be armed, the whole body. They even used the words, the whole body of the American people.
Yeah. I think, like Manuel said, it's literally for us to be able to bear arms. Like we have freedom of speech, right? We can say whatever we want. I can say I hate whoever I want, however I want, and whenever I want. Same thing, right? I can own a firearm. I can go play with firearms. I can go shoot, wherever I want, that range-wise. But I can do what I want with my guns, right? If I want to just hang them on the wall and adore them, or if I want to pass them down to my kids one day, like, I'm allowed to do that, right? They're my guns. I understand, like, why we have the laws and stuff, but I still think they're, once again, just for the people that follow them.
Because you deal with a lot of guys in law enforcement. What is the guys you talk to and train and interact with and that are every day rolling around the streets in their cars? What's their? Do you have a feel for like what their view on all of this debate is as well?
It's hard to say. So I don't really sit there talking to them about it. But it's one of those things. They carry one because it's a tool, part of their job. Right? It's a tool. They've got a bunch of other tools on their little Batman belts. So they have lots of options to go through before they even go into the firearm thing. But one of the things I like to let them know is that the firearm, although it's one of the pieces of equipment that you have, it's probably one of the most important pieces of equipment to know how to use. The other ones don't have as drastic, I guess you can call them, consequences if used incorrectly. So for them, I think it's a tool. For some of them, I know most law enforcement guys I know own multiple firearms that aren't part of issued department stuff. It's their own stuff because they enjoy shooting. They part of their job, they should know how to, and a lot of them actually enjoy it recreationally as well. So they would have to turn in their own firearms if any of these laws, or if we had a confiscation of some sort too, and their rights would be taken away as well. Like it doesn't help anybody in the way I see it. The other thing is that politicians aren't thinking this way, or maybe they don't realize it, but they may alienate themselves to them, that they're being protected by guys that are considered law enforcement of some sort.
What do you think about the argument that people say, well, only the police should have guns?
Oh, you haven't seen police shoot, right? Like, that's not all, but I will say the majority of them, I wouldn't want shooting near me, right? Or around me in any way. Because it's like I said, treated as a tool. It's not treated as a responsibility or priority in any way, which it's hard to force everybody, but the standards are very low.
Is it fair to say that there's a lot of people in law enforcement that don't practice enough with their guns, their firearms, and
Absolutely.
they should? And, I mean, I've seen plenty of those police shooting videos, and a lot of times those guys pull their gun and they just start firing away kind of wildly, and they go through a couple of magazines like that, and they don't even hit the guy once.
Well, one of the problems with that is they're being trained on a range, right, where it's a safe training environment. They're only shooting at pieces of paper, and those pieces of paper aren't causing any stressful behavioral effects on the human. So being that law enforcement officer. So if they don't do some force on force based stuff where they actually get stressed by a human being, maybe they'll be shooting fake bullets, right? Non-lethal training munitions, but it's still stressful. It still brings people's heart rates up. It still brings out the behavioral things that people do, like flinching and reacting in different ways. And if they don't have that put into their training on a regular basis, then they're going to act exactly like you said. They're just going to hope for the best and shoot a volley of rounds, and hopefully they hurt the guy, right? And it's unfortunate, but once again, police departments don't see it as a priority. They see, making sure the public's happy, making sure different things are paid for versus training. Training's always been a back burner kind of thing for them. And when I do see a department that's really squared away, it's really nice. The only time they'll spend extra money on training is for SWAT teams. The funny part is SWAT teams don't get into as many shootings as patrol officers at all. They're usually the ones like doing warrants. It's like a planned execution of a mission versus these guys that are on the street, the patrolmen, and it's straight spontaneous. What's the most dangerous thing law enforcement do? Traffic stops. Who does traffic stops? Patrolmen. SWAT guys don't do traffic stops. They're like, that's not my problem. But the patrolmen are the ones that are going to do that, and those are the most dangerous things that they get into is approaching a car they just pulled over because their plates aren't in, or they broke some kind of law, and now they're going up to this random car, to this random person, and just going to meet them face to face in this distance, and hope that guy doesn't want to kill them. So
I know we kind of touched on this briefly, but one of the questions I had here was, what's your opinion on the fact that police are 10, 15 minutes away when you call them, and what are you and your family supposed to do when your door's been kicked in by criminals and you're waiting for the police to arrive?
We have to defend ourselves. I will protect my family until police arrive. We have to do something. We cannot just let somebody hurt us, or those that we love.
I think it's a powerful question, though, for the average person that probably doesn't really think about that. If on average, on a good day, that police are 10, 15 minutes away, and you're dealing with an intruder, what do you do until the police arrive if you've decided only the police should have guns and therefore you're not going to participate in it?
Yeah.
You're going to use harsh language, spitballs, try to reason with them?
It's a bad day for that person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who hasn't noticed how easy interior doors are to kick in? So it's not like you can lock yourself in your bedroom.
Yeah, as a builder, as a guy who knows how to build houses, there's a nice little swift kick, and you can pretty much kick in any door in deadbolt.
Yep.
You can learn more by reading Corey Wayne's book, Mastering Yourself, for free on his website, understandingrelationships.com, by subscribing to the newsletter.
Can you guys comment on natural law and the origins of the right to self-defense? Natural law, obviously, preceding the Constitution.
It is our birthright since the dawn of man to have the ability to protect ourselves, those that we love, that which is ours as human beings. I'm not going to let anybody hurt me. You're not going to let anybody hurt you or your family.
It's kind of genetic, right? Caveman me was like, I will hit him with a stone and live, and then had another baby, and then that baby had a baby, and baby. Now me, kind of, I wouldn't be here if he didn't defend himself, kind of thing. So yeah, it's definitely a natural thing. Like, I don't want to die. Like, I got so much stuff to do. I still need to visit like the Eiffel Tower. Haven't seen it.
Pretty cool.
Want to go see it, right? So I want to live to go see the Eiffel Tower.
Things have changed a little bit since I've been there 15 years ago. Just
But
look past all the bulletproof glass around the Eiffel Tower.
One of the things that I look forward to is all the new ice cream flavors, right? I'm missing out on a lot of ice cream flavors if bad guy gets to kill me. So that's my motivation now. Ice cream. Ice cream.
And cookies.
And cookies. So many different flavors.
Yeah. So what are like some of the biggest common misconceptions in the gun world?
Okay, so you can't just buy a gun on the internet and have it shipped to you. That's 100% false. You can buy a gun through the internet, but the way it works is the gun shop has their FFL, which is their license to buy and sell firearms. They would actually have to transfer it to another FFL, whether it's in-state or out of state. And then the receiving FFL would actually conduct the background check and questionnaire for the person who actually bought the weapon. So yeah, you can't just buy it and have it shipped to you. That's false.
And obviously, wherever you're shipping it to has to comply with the gun laws in that particular
Exactly.
state.
It's not Amazon Prime.
No, it is not. Okay.
So how, because we hear a lot about background checks, universal background checks. What does that mean? What is the background check system as it currently stands?
Okay, so we'll go through the process, right? So somebody comes into the shop, they want to buy a gun, they buy the gun. Before we release them the gun, we have to run their background. In our case, in the state of Florida, we run it through FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement. So we would fill out some demographic information. They may or may not wish to provide their social security number. That would help, prevent misidentification, or if they had any complications, prior to, that could help, tell the investigator or whoever is actually doing the background check, to make sure it's the right person. So yeah, we'd have to submit the background check, and then it comes back either approved or not, or some type of decision pending. If it is approved, the person now has the right to take the gun that same day if they have a concealed weapons permit. If they don't, in Palm Beach County, there would be a 5-day waiting period, or a cool-off period, as they call it. So you can't just go into a gun shop and buy a gun and walk out with it. It doesn't work like that. You have to run your background.
Every time.
Every time you buy a gun. If I buy a gun today, and since I have my concealed carry license, I take it home, then I go back to Manny's shop tomorrow to buy a new gun. He's got to run a new background
That's right.
check. Let's talk about machine guns and machine gun laws in 1986.
Okay.
Because you see people all the time. There's you had a machine gun. So can you clarify what actually is a machine gun, who can have one,
Okay.
what the laws are?
So a machine gun is any type of weapon with a high rate of fire. So what happens is you press the trigger one time, and while you're pressing the trigger, the weapon keeps firing. That makes it fully automatic, unlike semi-automatic, which requires an individual trigger press every time you want to fire that weapon. Civilians are allowed to own machine guns if they are transferable. This means they were manufactured and registered pre-1986. Now, in order to get one, you have to take your fingerprints, your photographs, fill out a questionnaire, and submit it to the ATF for approval. It isn't instantaneous. Usually the approvals can take up to a year, sometimes even more. And there is a tax stamp associated with that. Think of the tax stamp as a licensing fee per item. Machine guns are a lot of fun, by the way.
Yes, they are. So I can't just walk into the store and say I want a brand new AR-15, or I want a brand new PWS fully automatic.
It's not going to happen. No.
So who
No
can
way.
legally buy those? Just people in law enforcement, government agencies?
So
Because you're a Class III manufacturer.
right. So if it were to
what
be,
does that mean, Class III manufacturer?
all right. So we are allowed legally by the type of license that we hold to manufacture, in our case, convert factory weapons into fully automatic weapons, and we are able to proactively market and sell them to departments or agencies, law enforcement departments or
So it's
agencies.
basically just different government agencies you
Right.
manufacture for.
We
and sell
could
to.
not sell that to an individual. There is no way. It's just not possible.
So in other words, for all the people who are saying, it's easy to get a machine gun.
It is
it's
not.
like
It
if
is
you're gonna-
absolutely false. It is not easy to get a machine gun.
And they're tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's talk about that too.
Yeah.
So
What's a pre-1986
Okay,
machine
all right.
gun gonna
So-
cost?
because there's only a finite number of these machine guns in the registry. When I say the registry, I'm talking about the NFA registry, the National Firearms Act registry. prices have skyrocketed. It is an appreciating asset. Those of you looking to invest, that's a great platform to do so. So let's talk about what an M16 costs at a gun show. An M16, by the way, is Colt's AR-15. That's an actual factory-built machine gun. So it says M16. I'm sure you've heard the name. You've seen them in all the action movies up until today's date. So getting back to the price, at a gun show, 1985, you could have bought a brand new Colt machine gun, an M16, for around $900. Today, $27,000, $28,000, $29,000. A new one, unfired, could be in the 40s. HK MP5s are in the high 30s. I mean, machine guns are very expensive. So not only is it cost prohibitive, but there is the paperwork and then the waiting period. So it is not easy to purchase one.
Yeah, they make it sound like in the media you just go to any gun shop and walk out with a machine gun and mow people down in the streets like that's a thing.
Now, in fact, the statistics, I don't believe. I probably shouldn't say this on camera because I don't have the facts, but I think there's only been like 0.1% of gun crimes ever committed with an NFA item. Yeah, there's only been like 1 or 2 instances ever. So
that's suppressor or...
Yeah, I don't have the facts though, so I don't know if you want to run that, but yeah.
So let's talk about suppressors, because obviously those are getting, last year, because there was somebody that I think used one. It was a former employee of some warehouse, and he had I think he had a pistol that had a suppressor on it. And of course, the media picked up on that, and these things should be illegal. And people would say, "What is a suppressor?"
So a suppressor is a device that you attach to the end of the weapon, whether it's a pistol or a rifle or a shotgun. And that device, to keep it simple, basically reduces the sound signature, the noise the weapon makes when firing.
It's a muffler.
Yeah.
And can I just walk into any Kmart and pick one of those up?
Absolutely not. No. So because it is an NFA controlled item, we would have to do the same thing as if you were purchasing a machine gun. You would come in, you would have to get fingerprints taken, your photograph, fill out a questionnaire, pay the $200 tax stamp to ATF, submit all of this paperwork to the ATF for approval. You may or may not get approved, and then there's the waiting period. It could be anywhere from 3 months to a year or greater. So no, the answer is no. You can't just walk into a shop and buy a suppressor.
So the reality is these things, like I know the one I have for my MPX got a serial number on it. Government, ATF knows who
That's
I
right.
am.
Absolutely.
They know what the number is on the suppressor. They know my address. They
have your picture. They have your fingerprints. They have your
Fingerprints.
blood type. Like
they know everything.
Mother's maiden name.
It's true.
But no, and not just that, but they're misinterpreted by what the media sees, what Hollywood puts out. Hollywood puts out what's cool and entertaining, not what's real. Right? Suppressors don't silence a gun. It's not James Bond quiet. It's not.
Not Hollywood quiet.
It doesn't sound like a laser. Most of them you still need hearing protection, right? But it dampens it enough to protect your ears more than 180 decibels of loud gunshot. It differs per gun, differs per suppressor. So people that are thinking that they're for assassins and stuff like that, assassins don't use that. Like, you're watching movies. Cool. And enjoy your movie, but understand that suppressors don't sound like that. They're much louder, and you still, most of the time, need hearing protection.
Yeah, they reduce it about, 30% on average?
30 decibels. So that takes your 180 decibel to 150-ish or 130-ish, depending on how loud and all that jazz. It also depends on the bullets. So some are quieter and some are louder, but none of them end up being, James Bond quiet. Nothing productive does, at least.
I'm sure there's a lot of people watching who may have never fired a gun, who don't believe in them, or who are against them, or who are just unsure about them. Shooting is a wonderful sport. We have several disciplines in the Olympics that involve shooting. Pistol, rifle, some of the triathlons and things like that. So it is an Olympic sport in different disciplines. There are also many national and international organizations that hold sporting events for points. So shooting is a lot of fun. It's exciting. It requires skill, a lot of training. It's not like in the movies where you can just point a gun at something far away and you'll hit it. I mean, it does require skill and training, and it is a diminishing skill. It's a great pastime, hunting for food that you're going to eat yourself. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. Doing that with, my family growing up, I think it's something everyone should experience at some point in their life. Whether it's hunting, whether it's recreational, it's awesome. You should go out and try it with a competent instructor if you don't know what you're doing.
John?
No, I agree with that. It's definitely something that people don't understand. It's not just for like self-defense and fighting in wars. It's for fun. Like, it can be really enjoyable. I think there was a newscaster that went out shooting for the first time, an anti-gun newscaster, and was like, this is actually really fun, and didn't even know it. And most of the time people are scared of it because they don't understand it.
That's true.
So education's a huge thing. And if you go into a good gun shop, they will explain it to you. They'll take apart a gun and show you how it works. And they'll talk to you all day about it because they're on the clock. So either way, they're getting paid, right? But mainly it's because they're probably passionate about it. They like firearms. So go in there, get educated a little bit. It may help your understanding.
Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, if you'd like to come get hands-on with some weapons and learn a little bit about them, come visit us at Palm Beach Tactical. Go to our website, palmbeachtactical.com, subscribe to our free email newsletter, send us a DM on Instagram, give us a call.
What's your Instagram handle?
At Palm Beach Tactical. And most importantly, come train with us. You'll have a lot of fun. I guarantee it.
It's a cool bunch of people. And how about you, John? How do people get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with me on mainly my website, so kinetic-consulting.net, and that's an easy way of getting in touch with me. All my social media is linked on there, and so is my email. So I actually answer it anytime you need questions, things like that.
Mochabear_actual.
Oh, on Instagram, yes.
Cool.
Why do they call you Mocha Bear?
Oh, yeah, you want to.
Sure.
You want to give that story out publicly?
I guess so. So it started out. I was at a party with some of my buddies. It was like our company party in the Army, and all the wives come, the kids and stuff like that. And I was, I didn't have a wife or kids, so I'm just hanging out with my friends. And I was sitting on a couch, and one of my buddies came up, and he like sat too close and like leaned on me. I was like, "Dude, you're so cuddly." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like a teddy bear." And then his wife was standing like over to the side, and she was like, "Yeah, but you're like brown, like a brown bear." And then somebody else was like, "No, he's more mocha colored." So they were all talking about this color of my skin at that point, which is fun, and everybody's like having a good time. It was all jokingly, but out came Mocha Bear from my buddy's wife, and it just stuck. It was like glue. And everybody loved it. And instead of me getting upset about it and being like, "Nah, dude, that's not my name. That's a really bad nickname. I don't want it." I embraced it because otherwise it'll get used way more if I hated it. So it was definitely one of those things. But I have plenty of nicknames. So Duff, Duffy, John, like all the names that you would think of, but not my real one. So it's all good though. Mocha Bear works.
Cool.
Thanks for having us, Coach. We really appreciate
Thanks for coming over, man.
Yeah, man.
You can learn more by reading Corey Wayne's book, Mastering Yourself, for free on his website, understandingrelationships.com, by subscribing to the newsletter. Until next time.